Hello, hello, hello. We are live on both YouTube and TikTok with the Braver broadcast for November 17th, 2025. Let's get right into it. We have the Trump administration, which won't release the economic data for October, which is just absolutely wild. Specifically, they're not releasing the jobs numbers. And I wonder why. Well, it's because it makes them look bad. Um, oops. Have to fix this. Have to finish going live on TikTok. All right, now we're live on both TikTok and YouTube. So what we're looking at right now is the Trump administration, which isn't going to release the economic data for October, which is just insane. It's wild that we rely on the government for this, not just the average person doesn't rely on the government for this jobs data. It's not so important to us, but it's important to the economy as a whole. We need to know what's going on in the economy. And what's really scary is when everybody feels the economic dread right now. I mean, it's pervasive through our society, just fear of the economy. That's why people aren't buying houses right now. That's why people aren't engaging in the economy right now. And when the administration won't release the economic data, that's even more scary. And the businesses can't make decisions on the future. Let's read this. The Trump administration said this week that several key pieces of U.S. economic data for October, including inflation and employment figures, will not be released. That's just wild. They're not going to tell us what's happening in the economy. That never happens. Trump just, surprise, surprise, is doing a terrible job with the economy and doesn't want anyone to know about it. All right. Caroline Levitt told reporters on Wednesday that the Bureau of Labor Statistics could not complete the usual surveys during the 40-plus days the government was shuttered. Well, I can understand that. The problem is, Trump just wanted to close the government so he doesn't have to do this stuff. It was better for Trump when the government was closed because he didn't want to be able to release this information. He didn't even want to be able to collect this information because he knows it makes him look bad. He is trying to convert our economy away from an economy that benefits workers, not that it has been recently, towards an economy that only benefits the rich. Nvidia and these AI companies control so much of our economy nowadays, and it's because, they donated to Trump. They were part of his inauguration team. Hey, Mr. Braver, you taught me in 5th grade. I'm glad to see you, Chatter. I'm glad you remember me. All right, let's read more of that. All this economic data will be permanently impaired. That's what Caroline Levitt is saying about the economic data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's ridiculous. It is a group of highly trained economists that are compiling this data for everybody to use. The idea that Biden could have permanently impaired our ability to collect data, to call businesses and ask them how many employees they're hiring, what their prices, how the prices are changing, is ridiculous. Now, she blamed the Democrats' refusal to agree to the administration's budget demands. She added that opposition had permanently damaged the federal statistical system. That's not true. You know what would permanently damage the federal systems? When you fire all the federal workers that Trump's doing. He's firing so many people in the Bureau of Labor Statistics that is charged with making this data, with collecting it. That's why the system would be hurt. Not because Democrats refused to let Trump cut health benefits. Critics aren't buying it. Americans know the economy is bad. Yeah. Trump is trying to cover up the numbers, but we all have eyes, ears, and bank accounts. Yeah, and so many college graduates can't even find a job right now. Thank you for the new follower I got, and I appreciate everyone liking and sharing my channel. I'm a small channel, so I really appreciate your help here. A report from the Outplacement Forum, blah, 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 last week estimated that U.S. employers cut more than 150,000 jobs in October. That is horrible for our economy. If we cut that many jobs, because before we knew that hiring was low, but we didn't know that layoffs were going to get this high, and they're getting so much higher. DOJ doesn't serve the president, right? Well, it shouldn't, but Donald Trump has appointed Pam Bondi to be the head of the DOJ, so it is serving the president. All right, let's move on to the next story. Well, let's look at the comments. This is why the president shouldn't have this much power. Yeah. Economy isn't bad if you don't report it, right? Exactly like what he's saying with COVID. He refused to test COVID because he thought that if you don't test for it, then we don't know how bad it's going to be. Technically true, but it's still just getting worse. All right, let's look at the next story for today. Layoffs hit highest point in over 2 decades as a report. That October was the worst month for layoffs in 22 years. That is absurd. I mean, that Donald Trump has done so much damage to this economy already that we're seeing the highest layoffs in over 22 years. It's horrible. And the thing is, we knew this was going to happen. This is what happens when fire tons of people, when you cut off funding, when you stop investing in the American economy, and when you put tariffs on the American economy, putting barriers up, putting more friction in the market. Of course, this is what happens. Monthly layoffs in the U.S. have reached the highest level in more than 2 decades, according to a new report from Challenger, Gray, and Christmas. Companies now said over 153,000 jobs were cut in October. Wow, the worst month in 22 years. Tech, retail, and housing were among the hardest hit sectors, as employees cited AI adoption, rising costs, and slowing consumer spending. Across the board, the economy is hurting in so many different sectors and for so many different reasons. It's not only inflation at this point. Rising costs is one of the complaints, but slowing consumer spending. Consumers can't survive in this economy. And so the economy can't survive because people aren't able to spend their money. They don't have disposable income. 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. That's not a stable economy. Do you really think tariffs is why jobs are being lost? Absolutely. Later on, we'll get to more posts about why tariffs are so bad. Maybe it'll be right here. Here, look. This is how the tariffs are raising prices for Americans. This was from January 2024 to January 2025. Prices were lowering for Americans. It's just true. And then guess what happens in January 2025? Thank you so much for that gift. Guess what happens in April specifically? Trump throws out these random ridiculous tariffs, and all of a sudden, whoa, when you increase the price of goods, the price of goods increases. And not only are we seeing that imported goods right here are increasing in price. Let's see if we can see that. Not only seeing that it's imported goods increasing in prices, it's also domestic goods that are increasing in prices. When you hurt the economy like this, when you add friction to it and make it less efficient, then everybody hurts. When you cut off raw resources going to these businesses, then businesses across the board, their expenses are larger. Our economy runs less efficiently, and we see not only imported but domestic goods rising in price. So yes, this is partially why the economy is doing so terribly. Let's look right here. 23 states are officially under a recession as Trump's economy craters. 23. Tariffs come and go, but prices never lower. Prices do lower. We were just seeing how prices were lowering. When Biden took office, he invested in Americans. Now, initially, inflation was continuing just ahead under Trump. And then we saw over time, inflation was lowering, as we can see right here, January 2023 to January 2024, or 25. When Trump took office, prices started skyrocketing again because of the tariffs. What tariffs do is tax goods, tax imported goods. But it doesn't just affect imported goods. When you have this broad-ranging tariff, 20% on so many different goods, well, yeah, of course you're going to see your domestic goods increase the price too, because your entire economy runs less efficiently. I really appreciate all the likes. I appreciate all the follows. Thank you so much. Let's look at the 23 states that have entered a recession under Trump. Remember, this wasn't happening under Biden. All of these states, so the red are already in recession. We have Washington, we have Oregon, we have Wyoming, so many states, Illinois, wow. Georgia, West Virginia, Michigan. I mean, it's not even just Democrat states or Republican states. Like, Trump is targeting Democrat states, taking away a lot of their funding and hurting them specifically and intentionally, which is ridiculous and horrible. But so many states are being hurt by what Trump's doing. So many across the board. And remember, a recession is 2 periods of negative GDP growth. All right. I know my video isn't working, so either the sound of the video isn't working, so we're going to move past that. But let's look at who wasn't being hurt by the government shutdown, who isn't going to be hurt by Trump's horrible government. The rich people, the people who own private jets. We can see that while the rest of us had our flights delayed or canceled, 245,000 private jets took off during October's shutdown. That's the best month for private jets in 20 years because all the commercial jets, all of them carrying us lowly peasants who need to fly, with everybody else and can't afford our $100 million private jet. Yeah, the richest 1% of Americans get richer. The rest of us can't afford groceries, rent, or healthcare. Absolutely correct. And what we saw is that when private jets started being affected, that's when the shutdown uh, ended. When the airlines, their favorite representatives in the Democratic Party, started getting calls from those airlines saying, hey, like this is really affecting us now. They didn't care about the people. When it's affecting those corporations, that's when the shutdown ended. Um, we'll be taking on guests later to talk. Sorry, average guy, but I'll have you on later. Um, it's horrible. Giving Reagan era vibes, absolutely. Inflation lowering still means things getting more expensive, just slowed, not deflation. Yeah, of course, but yes, it's very hard in the economy for prices to actually lower. That our economy is not built for that. It's built to constantly raise prices because that's what makes people more money. Deflation is usually scary and it's usually unstable, unlike inflation, which is not exactly sustainable. But the system we've built up allows for inflation to happen. So you're right, deflation doesn't typically happen, but we want lowered inflation. That's still good that we had lowered inflation. It's not the best, um, but it's still necessary. Here's another great story, or horrible story, but interesting. Progress against extreme poverty has slowed and is projected to end. Here we can see basically over time from 1990 to 2020, we can see a huge decrease in global poverty, coming a lot from East Asia and South Asia. Now, since 2020, we can see an increase in global poverty, which is horrible. The trend of our society should be towards lower poverty, towards a greater equalization of resources, of opportunity, and life expectancy and standards of living. But now, because we're seeing decreased investment in under in impoverished areas, and because we're seeing increased investment in the destruction of the climate, well, and we're seeing increased investment in the destruction of the infrastructure for places like sub-Saharan Africa, well, we're seeing an increase in poverty there. One other major reason we're seeing an increase in poverty is because we're seeing a lot of investment in Africa from places like China and some in America for their rare minerals. The problem is the people of Africa aren't benefiting from that. So many of these other countries are still just pillaging the resources from these areas and enslaving the people who work there. Still, maybe it might be a little bit of wage slavery, it might be better than chattel slavery that we had in America, but we're still just extracting the resources from these areas like Africa for our benefit. That's one of the reasons poverty is increasing in these areas. They deserve to profit of the resources that we're benefiting from. All right, let's move on to our next. Oh wait, in 1990, 22.3 billion people lived in extreme poverty. Since the number of extremely poor people have declined by 1.5 billion people. That's incredible. That's a testament to, the world getting better. Literally, it's straight up. Leaving the very worst poverty behind doesn't mean a life free of want, but it does mean a big change. Additional income matters most for those who have the least. 100%. Can we expect this rapid progress to continue? Unfortunately not. Based on current trends, progress against extreme poverty will come to a halt. That's so sad. We can see the uptick in poverty right here. Expected poverty. All right. What's going on here? In Indonesia and China, more than 2/3 of the population live in extreme poverty, but these economies then grew rapidly. So that by today, the share has declined to less than 10%. That is a huge, it's just an incredible feat to reduce your poverty rates to only 10%. We should be supporting that. And the way they do that is through investment in the community. What we could be doing in America. It's not through extracting more profit from these people, making them work even harder to build a better life. So making a better life easier to obtain. All right. What's different today is that the majority of the world's poorest people are stuck in economies that have been stagnating for a long time. And they're not just stagnating because of the war that's there, or because they haven't been given the proper resources, but because their economy has been pillaged. Other countries have been taking their resources and profiting off them and not allowing those people to profit off them. All right, let's continue on. Florida is adopting a more conservative education model, which is incredibly scary. PragerU has created the Phoenix Declaration, an American vision for education. That's an insane name. That's the most like Judge Dredd, raw America Freedom Land name that you think could possibly come up with. And like it's gonna show in the education, because if you look at PragerU and their content, it's just atrocious. It's lies about America. Right now on the State Department website, they have AI of our, founding fathers and the leaders from the past. That's just horrifying and not true to life at all, because it's AI. It's not going to be. The Florida State Board of Education approved embedding the Declaration in the state's curriculum, positioning the state as the first to adopt it. According to the Declaration, the goals include instilling a love of country, whatever that means, urging students to seek the good, true, and beautiful, okay, and helping them fulfill their God-given potential. Now, that's a real problem, because not only should we not be proselytizing in schools, of course, we should be teaching kids how to think, not what to think. And they're trying to teach every single kid to believe in the Christian God. That's what PragerU is for. They openly declare that. That shouldn't be. Kids should absolutely get the chance to believe what they believe. Parents should be able to talk to their kids and not have an indoctrination from the state. All right, we have somebody who wants to come on, I guess, to talk about that. Their name is... Why is this not showing up? I'm trying to get this person on who wants to talk. But for some reason, here we go. American Advocate, what do you want to talk about? Hello?
Yo, can you hear me?
I can hear you. If somebody in chat can tell me if they can hear everyone, I appreciate that. What if they believe... What if what they believe is detrimental to their life? Yeah, school's meant to educate you on, like, if what you believe is detrimental to your life. If something's detrimental to your life, then, yeah, we need to educate people away from that. I don't know what that chat's saying. All right, American Advocate, what do you want to advocate about?
Yes, I want to advocate against the radicalness, I should say, taking over the Democrat Party.
What radicalness are you talking about?
Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Because,
You see my
like,
profile picture. I'm
does
a
this seem kind
Clintonite.
of
I'm more
radical
of
to you?
a Clinton
Like,
Democrat.
look, first of all, the PragerU's thing, the Republican Party in Florida's mission is to install the Phoenix Declaration, an American vision for education, where they're telling students to fulfill their God-given potential. They are instituting teaching about God in our schools. That's kind of radical.
Well, I disagree with that, but I think Democrats want to do all these surgeries in schools,
Wait,
and
wait,
nobody talks
no,
about
no.
that.
Let's stick to the topic. You
The
think
left,
you think our
frankly.
teachers should be able to indoctrinate our students into whatever religion they choose?
Well, like I said, I don't think that's a good idea.
Okay, great. So that's radical. That's a republic. That's not only
Yeah, I
like
mean your
something that
audio
we're
is
talking
cutting out
about
though. Yeah, yeah,
vaguely.
yeah.
That's the Republican policy that was just passed. That's radical. Yes.
Well, okay, I'm into a radical. Democrats are much more radical. You know that.
I don't think so, because there's no
Your mic
Democratic
is like
policy
broken.
instituting and saying that students need to be trans. There's
We
nothing
got that right
saying
from
that.
China.
This
Yes,
is
yes.
saying that students need to fulfill their God-given potential, saying that they have to recognize their potential as given by God, which they shouldn't have to recognize, and it's forcing them to believe that. There's no Democratic policy like that, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you're someone in your chat is saying your mic is cutting out, and they're not wrong.
Okay, yeah,
You need
I
to
was
fix your
wondering
China,
about
your
that.
mic
I
from
was seeing
China.
that
Is that
earlier.
good?
Here, let
That's
me
what we're
try
gonna tear.
doing
We're gonna
this.
tear off your mic next time.
Okay, let me try this. Give me a second. Turn off Bluetooth. Ba, 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 ba. Boom. Okay, how does it? Oop, how does it sound now? Hello? Wait, I don't think I can hear you now. Um, speak, please.
YOLO.
I can hear you. Great. Uh, does the mic sound better? No.
Like from China. That's the problem.
I don't know. Is
Yeah,
Sure made in
I
China?
think it does.
Anybody in chat is Sure made in China? Okay, great. So, like the Republicans are instituting
I'm pretty
radical
sure.
policy here,
Yeah,
right?
this is a joke. I can't even hear you.
Okay, the lag is bad. Maybe it's because I'm streaming on both YouTube and who's saying somebody in chat wants to talk to me. What's up, Rukia? I hope lag is better now. Tell me if lag's better now. All right. Anyway, the Florida Board of Education is being ridiculous right now by instituting the where is it? Yeah, the Phoenix Declaration. This is crazy. Fix your Chinese mic. Is it working now? Is it fixed? Did you miss me? Did you miss us? Oh, it's one of my students. Yes, I miss my students every single day, of course. But tell me if my mic's doing good. Okay, let's move on. Okay, in Mexico, thousands march against crime and corruption as Gen Z protesters breach the palace barriers. This is wild. I didn't hear anything about this before. Lag not better now, lag worse now. Yeah, I don't know why you're typing like a caveman. This is horrible. Um, hmm. What should I do? I'm gonna try this. I appreciate everyone for sticking around, even while everything's going crazy. Okay. Uh, can I hear myself now? Okay, so I should. No, that's so weird. Okay, hello, hello, hello. Wow, now neither the my oh no, the mic's working, but the sound isn't. How's your Wi-Fi signal? My Wi-Fi is great. Um, it's when I try to use my